Hello, kittens. This is Kpop Juice. I'm Ananas. I'm also on Twitter at Ananas Kpop, and I'm gonna react to some very specific Sweetune songs that I chose each for its own reason. Um, Sweetune is the most legendary, magical music production team in K-pop, and I've concluded. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've concluded that it would be impossible to even begin to explain uh, why the importance and merits of Sweetune is just beyond. It's beyond language. So for now, I'm just gonna be listening to these specific Sweetune songs, and I'll just pause to listen to each one, and then I'll give you any thoughts that I have. Starting with A by Rainbow. And hello again, kittens. I've just listened to A by Rainbow, and that's really the perfect introduction song for this. I actually got into K-pop over more than 10 years ago, like in early 2012, and it was me stumbling on some Girls' Generation song, and I spent a whole year just looking into the Girls' Generation discography and stuff, and maybe a little bit into a couple of closely related SM entertainment groups. But even then, at the very beginning, not knowing anything about anything, I already got into this song, A by Rainbow, and just fell in love with Rainbow, I think really based on this song. And the first time I heard it, I noticed that it sounds charismatic and fresh. And I thought maybe the structure was an imperfect pop song structure in a way, like not the absolute most catchy commercial structure for a pop song. You kind of have to. It's not one of those annoyingly catchy. You kind of have to volunteer to hear it a second time. But ever since the second time that I heard it, I was hooked on it. But also, I was listening to it like, I don't know, like every night I would listen to it. And first of all, I started to realize that it's not a simple pop song whatsoever. It just sounds like it because it's all weaved together so seamlessly, and the aesthetic senses that are just, everything is just calibrated so perfectly that it sounds just like a pop song. But the more I looked into it, like the more I listened to it, the more I realized that the stuff they do there with the guitars and those guitar parts, some of them in there, everything, actually the complexity, the musical complexity of it is kind of insane. But again, like I said, also the editing, kind of on the executive producer level, the accuracy of the aesthetic senses to decide out of all these endless brilliant musical ideas what to put in, exactly when, exactly what volume, how to weave everything together so that it's seamless. It's actually batshit crazy. And this song ended up being for sure, I mean, I don't have a way to measure that, but for sure my all-time most listened K-pop song, because it's been 10 years and I have been listening to this all the way up until now, 10 years later, when, believe me, it's rare for me to listen to anything more than once or twice. I get bored instantly. But the entire time, the entire 10 years, I don't remember ever listening to this and not enjoying it. It's like a wave of freshness bursting into your brain every time, the second it starts. It's a really good introduction to Sweetune, this song. So I'm gonna listen to The Chaser by Infinite, which was always considered by quite a few people, including myself, the best Sweetune. So let's check that out. Hello again, kittens. It's 3.5 minutes later, but like I've just listened to The Chaser by Infinite. I'm just devastated. I had no hope of catching up to my thoughts. about what makes the song good, because it's just way too much, way too fast, and um, it's again that editing thing, like the taste level of deciding. They make a lot of stuff and they have endless amazing ideas, but they put them together. This it's never too much or too little of anything, and nothing ever happens at the wrong time. And it actually happens. A lot of stuff happens at a way better time than other producers would put it, like in a pop song. The overall balance of all the elements and the flow of energy and emotions throughout the song is absolutely phenomenal. The mastery, it's stunning. The um and you notice all the stuff that you notice in all this the best Sweetune songs, like the song structure is so inventive and beautiful in the tiny things, you know. Not even song structure in this case, more like the songwriting, the composition, the arrangement. I don't want to separate them. It's all in this song. It's really all one thing. And another thing that I've been noticing more and more and more in Sweetune is just the amount and quality of vocals that they record for these songs is also completely insane. And the way they use them is so genius. I've been noticing this more and more, that somewhere in the background you get these shouts and like passion and anguish and stuff that, how do you even get that out of these singers? I don't even know, because it's pretty rare. They get the best stuff and they use them the best, so tastefully. and of course, of course, this is the best Sweetune, because it does all the best stuff that all the best Sweetune songs do, and it has that absolutely perfect flow of energies and kind of an unfolding story of the emotions throughout the song. And at the same time, what's unique about this one is the degree of tension and overall extreme high energy and high drama and high charisma of the song. In this particular song is right from the first millisecond all the way to the last millisecond. It stays unbelievably intense and captivating. It never lets up. It's just, oh my God, like, it's just, that's like the race car of songs. It just races like crazy. I remember all these years, every time you listen to that song, you are left so shocked and devastated. You're like, wait, what? Like, what just happened? What? That's it? That's just, whoa, what was that? Every time you listen to it, I think that other people feel that as well. And I'm gonna listen to Wild by 9Muses, that in the past I've heard a couple of people. Well, let's listen to it and see. Yeah, I've just listened to Wild by 9Muses. That's a song I like going back to sometimes for various reasons. One of them being that it's a song that I've heard a couple of times mentioned as the best Sweetune composition. I was never fully on board with that agenda. It's a typical Sweetune song. It's a strong Sweetune song. It's very good with charisma and maintaining that constant tension. It's big. It has like that sense of a hit song, but it doesn't have something that some Sweetune songs do have. Some of them, the overall composition and flow of emotion tell like a more complex story than this. This one is a little bit more simple, although the instrumentation is still rich and the atmosphere is still kind of tense. But it does get a little more repetitive. It actually sounds maybe in that way almost a little bit more like a hit song, because it could have more of a mainstream appeal, I think, in theory. And now I'm gonna listen to Lupin by Kara. So I've just listened to Lupin by Kara. One of you asked me at some point about second verses. What makes it a great second verse? And I said that this is not common at all. It's rare, but it's spectacular when a second verse is kind of a melodic variation on the first verse that's really different but corresponding in a way. Because when you listen to the second verse, it's only been like 1 minute since you've heard the first verse. There's an echo, like an imprint of the first verse on your brain still, just 1 minute later. So the second verse is superimposed on that, and your brain can sense that deeper relationship, that sense of satisfaction, that sense of higher order from that harmony created between the two different but complementing verses. So this for me is this song, the bridge in Lupin, is a melodic variation. I think even the rhythm is a little bit different, really close but a little different. And since at this point, it's brilliant because this is like 2.5 minutes into the song. So at this point, the previous musical themes are kind of established in your mind, and the bridge is kind of juxtaposed with that. It's like your brain puts it on top of that to create these crazy harmonious things that gives you chills. A few years ago, I listened to this song and I looked at the YouTube comments, and someone, like the first comment I think that I saw was, "It's majestic." I think that was on YouTube. It's like black velvet. It's really dark, but it's not dark like depressing at all. It's really dark, like it's very epic and cinematic and atmospheric right from the second it starts. But also the way that bridge is done in this song, right from the start, the way it transitions into the bridge, is done so tastefully and so, just so inventive and so perfect, just perfect taste. And okay, I'm gonna listen to Love Style by Boyfriend. So I've just listened to Love Style by Boyfriend. And again, there's too much to say. I'm never gonna remember. Generally, yeah, it's one of the best ones. It's absolutely was always one of my absolute favorite K-pop songs because it's also uniquely upbeat. And I remember my entire time in K-pop always trying to kind of push for this agenda and trying to explain that this is a masterpiece song, because I figured people see this pastel cutesy music video that's also really old-fashioned, and they probably think, oh, it's just a cutesy pop song. No, it's not just a cutesy pop song at all. It's really not. You guys, this is a masterpiece pop song of the highest order. This was one of the first Sweetune songs I ever heard, and this was the one where I realized I don't even know, I don't have words to put to it how good Sweetune are with song structures. And song structures is specifically something that I've been looking into my entire life. There's something called pop song structure, like the classic pop song structure that was developed in the 1960s. There were pop songs before and there were structures before, but this is the one structure that really stuck as the key to making your pop song a hit, because it's the most effective structure. It's the sweet spot. It really optimizes that relationship between, you want the song to be catchy, like that people that hear it remember it as fast as possible, so it's catchy, so right away they want to listen to it more, so they don't just forget about it and move on. But at the same time, you also want the exact opposite of that. You want a song that people don't get sick of after the first couple of times they listen to it. You want something that can linger in their mind and they want to listen to it more and more and more times, over and over, like over time, still not get sick of it. And the classic pop song structure from the 1960s is the one that optimizes that. It gives you like the best of both worlds. And I've been looking into this stuff my whole life. And it's definitely been my experience that straying from the classic pop song structure is typically bad news. You really want to know what you're doing if you're doing anything that's not the by the book structure. It's a gamble. Uh, it's typically a lot less likely to be a hit song. And it's actually very good if you do that, as it's one of like your artistic tools that you have in your tool belt is messing with the structure. Of course you do want to do that, but you also want to make sure that you know what you're doing. You want to think carefully about that, about how you do that. It's a way for you to be inventive, but it's always a gamble. It's risky. And by the time I've heard this song, Love Style by Boyfriend, I already had a lot of knowledge and experience with this. And I, the overall way that I would describe it, that was my thought back then, is in this song, every song part, first of all, this song strays from structure. Absolutely. It's like its own structure, which happens a lot with Sweetune. It's its own unique structure, and normally I would really advise against that. You really, really want to know what you're doing if you do that. But in this song, it's like the best thing they could have done, because they feel on instinct what the flow of the song should be. But my thought about this song was not just now, when I heard it like 10 years ago or whatever. Every song part in this song is different than what you expected to hear. But at the same time, it's actually more gratifying than if it was the song part that you were expecting to hear. That's the absolute ideal scenario where you don't do the expected thing, what the listener's ears are used to and expecting, but you do something that's even better. It's just that's the ideal scenario, but that's not how it usually happens. You have to be so good to achieve that. And the song structure mastery of Sweetune is god tier. It's rare. They never get it wrong. They know what they're doing. They can invent their own structures, and they do. The song structures are so unique so often, but they don't get it wrong. They really, really know what they're doing. That's so unusual. I'm gonna listen to Wonderful Girl by Boyfriend. So I've been listening to Wonderful Girl by Boyfriend. It's 10 years I've been trying to look into the Sweetune discography, and I really can't wrap my arms around it whatsoever. It's insane. Not just because of the size, because of just the depth, the both musical and emotional implications of this music are just way too profound. So this is the last few days I've been looking into some of the Sweetune. I always do that, like once a year or whatever. Once every year or two, I went back into the Sweetune production discography to look for other stuff. I keep looking for stuff. The last few days, I've been looking and I've been finding some stuff. And this one, I think, was the best that I found of those songs that I've been finding the last few days that I haven't listened to before. Of the best ones, that's, I think, the best one. This is a very, very, very typical Sweetune. There's not a lot of stuff that you can say, specific musical elements that you can say are specific Sweetune, because it does get varied, impressively so. But one element that is very, very common is 80s Eurodisco influence. They do that a lot, like a lot. Which, by the way, some of us are just the right age to that. It really hits the spot with us. But that, all I'm saying is I'm super old, but it doesn't matter much. People fall in love with all genres all the time. If it's something good, you can enjoy it. That always happens. Doesn't matter how young you are. If it's something awesome, then it's something awesome. But it's like Sweetune is like the K-pop version of 80s Eurodisco. It's like a Eurodisco kind of perfected. Many of them are just phenomenal. But this one, I don't even know what to say about it because it's kind of new to me. I found it a few days ago. I've been listening to it like every day, once a day. And but I was just this chorus. I was just dancing in bed. I'm chronically sick. I'm mostly in bed, but I was just dancing in bed because this chorus is just way too yummy. I've been doing like my 80s dance or something because these vocals in the chorus are very potent. If you hear this song, you'll know right away what I'm talking about. It's just so yummy, sexy vocals. So, yeah, not a lot to say yet. But it's a good one. I'm happy to find it. I actually kept it for myself for a few days because it's like you find buried treasure or something. Who knows what else I'm gonna find? Like, I never really got through the entire discography. I'm still working on it. 15 years from now, I'll be good and dead. I'll be very dead. Now listen to Last Romeo by Infinite. Oh no, that's an emotional one for me. Well, we'll see. Last Romeo by Infinite. So I've listened to Last Romeo by Infinite. It came out 2014. And boy, was this not my thing. It's just not my thing. It's like kind of, in several ways, kind of the opposite of my normal taste. So the first time I heard it, I wasn't it has this big drama and pathos, and at the same time, it doesn't sound like... It sounds, at many points, a little bit more monotone than dynamic. That's kind of the opposite of my taste. But again, starting with, I don't know, the second listen or whatever it was, started growing on me. And so this has also been many, many years of this song. Every single time I listen to it, I go back to it every now and then, like every couple of months, whatever. I go back to it every few months. Every single time I listen to it, it's better than before. It unfolds so gradually because of its musical complexity. It's so much richer than I thought the first time I heard it. It has a phenomenal sense of storytelling. It's like a love story. It's like a Romeo and Juliet story. It really feels like the most epic love story that could be. That's really not normally what I look for, and not normally what I listen to, but this one is just so good. I think there's a lot of super subtle stuff. They do again, it's the taste level. They record all these vocal harmonies and they put it in the background and it gets so invisible, some of it. You'll never hear it. Like, I'll never hear it, but it's there making this so good. And I think in retrospect, probably if not the most romantic K-pop song, then probably the second most romantic K-pop song. The first one being probably Janus by Boyfriend, which is Sweetune. And some of this song that was never supposed to be my thing just keeps pulling me back to listen to it over and over and over, dozens and dozens of times. Every time it's better. It's always better. How? I don't know how. And even though it's a dramatic, tragic love story or whatever, I don't know what it is, but that's what it feels like. But I still absolutely enjoy listening to it. So now I'm gonna listen to the new Sweetune, which came out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I was shocked to even hear there's a new Sweetune. But it's particularly shocking the Sweetune. They've been making K-pop music since like I don't know, 2007, 2005, 2009, many, many, many years ago. And the best of the best was probably the Infinite stuff and the Boyfriend stuff. So 2012, 13, 14 was the absolute best. But now suddenly there's a new Sweetune that is kind of, it sounds like it's as good as the old stuff, as the best stuff. It's good. It sounds as good as some of the best Sweetunes, I think. I don't know. Because I've been rationing it. I've been like smothering it to death. I've only ever heard it like 5 times, maybe. By now I think it's 5 times, maybe. I keep like, uh, you might say I've become a little bit obsessed about Sweetune. Just me. So now I'm gonna listen to Nonstop by RoaD-B for the 6th time, and get back to you with any reaction I have. Okay, so that's never happened to me before. I just listened to Nonstop by RoaD-B, the new Sweetune song, and I, you know that thing where you suddenly have to like plug in your earbuds into your phone because it somehow got loose, and so now your phone is playing music that everyone can hear. I just did that the second the song started, and then I realized that it is plugged in. It was plugged in the whole time. I thought I was just hearing it on the speakers because the sound was so impossibly wide. Um, yeah. Anyway, um, uh, well, it's a Sweetune. It has the really, really masterful arrangement and structure that make for like this really, really masterful flow of energy throughout the song. Uh, and the chorus in this song sounds impossibly big. This is the quality of this mix. This sound is just crazy. The harmonies, they sound so big in the. This is hard to explain in words. How do you describe that? Just big, bigger. Um, it seems there's a. This I've also heard around 2016 that Sweden started updating the sound very, very slightly to tropical sounds, and I think it was 2016 or something, or 17 or something. This song "Back Hug" by Snooper that had this. It still did a lot of the 80s Eurodisco, but also incorporating a little bit of tropical house. And on I think the same Snooper album, there was a song called "Lucky" that is kind of an island music with these percussions. That I'm not sure exactly what genre that is, but in that general area, that's like Balearic beat or soca influence or tropical house, something in that neighborhood. So there's a hint of that in here as well. But honestly, it's just, again, my thoughts were going too fast. It's hard to, I couldn't catch up to everything that's good in this song or what makes it so good. It's always confusing when it's Sweetune. This is not the best Sweetune I ever heard, although it's a good one. It's a very good one. But this is a natural nominee to be Song of the Year, Kpop Song of 2022. And again, I think I've said that on Twitter, that anyone that hears this song, that seems to be people's first thought, is they say, wow, this is right away a nominee for my best K-pop song of the year. So don't be surprised if this ends up at the top of the list for some people, very possibly my list. I could see that happening. The topic of Sweetune is so impossibly complex that I spent a few days the last week trying to explain why it's so difficult to explain Sweetune, and even that took so much out of me to try to explain that. I did make a thread about that on Twitter, Ananas Kpop, and you can ask me anything on Twitter about music and all of that, Kpop, Sweetune, anything. So yeah, I figured it's better to just dive into the songs right in and just give some reaction, because it actually can give you that taste of how magical it is, the way that this music, the way people react to this music, and also the way that a musically knowledgeable person reacts to this music, someone that has like a sophisticated listener that can grasp some of this complexity. But you really don't have to be any of that. There are many, many K-pop fans that love this music, and you will see that someone that loves Sweetune, anyone that loves this music, they end up loving it so much more than other stuff. Um, so that's the best recommendation you can have. That's like your proof. Um, I really want to talk about Sweetune and say stuff about Sweetune, but there's just no easy way to do that. This is it's uniquely magical music. It's god tier. It stands alone. It's incomparable. But maybe I'll do more on Sweetune another time. And go on my Twitter, ask me questions, talk to me about this if you want. But I was so happy to make this for you. So thank you, kittens, for tuning in. I hope you have a good K-pop.